can we get you guys to all kind of move up here to this table and here? We're going to make this a cozy little fireside chat. For those of you joining us on the live stream, hi, my name is Stan Stolniker, and welcome to Davos 2022. Welcome to the Ice House. Our first kind of pre-moment. The forum is opening tonight, and we wanted to kick things off a little early with a conversation that I think of as bridging the gap. So let's just move you guys in, take a seat here close, and we're going to get cozy, right? Hi, Jen. I think, Michael, are you paying attention to the mics? Okay, so again, my name is Stan Stolniker. I think I know almost all of you. I'm going to introduce Jen Sander, who's head of innovation at Burning Man, to talk about a kind of collaboration that began here in the Ice House in 2020 and has continued through what I call the Great Gap. I think of us leaving Davos in 2020 at the edge of a precipice, and then we've now come out on the other edge of that precipice. And so this moment is really important because a lot of what happened during the last 2 years in the pandemic was about processing what I think of as a great transition between the old society and the future society. And our goal and the mission for what we're doing within Hub Culture and within the kind of decentralized nodal communities that exist around the world is to navigate leadership in the new world. And that's why we made this the very opening moment of the Ice House, this conversation, the very first thing that we talk about here. So I'm going to hand it over to Jen to introduce yourself and explain what we mean by the future society.
Thank you, Stan. Also, hello.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome
to Davos.
Isn't it amazing that we're both actually here? I'm Jen Sander. I run a creative consultancy called Play Atelier that monitors creative culture, and I've been working with the Burning Man nonprofit for the last 10 years and leading their innovation, as well as doing a lot of forecasting and facilitating of some of these players who are creating the future society via my consultancy. So with no further ado, let's get going on the recap. We have a little recap for you guys of how we got to be where we are, starting with what happened in 2020 to now. So here we go. And I'm clicking. Okay, so the Burning Man nonprofit happened in around 2012, and Larry Harvey, who was Burning Man's founder, forecasted that he had a kind of winning formula with Burning Man that could potentially proliferate and change the world. And his view was that our culture was going to integrate into many other subsets, whether that was NGOs, other organizational culture, the way cities are designed, and institutions. And so here are some examples of some of the notable things that happened while the Burning Man nonprofit was active in its high day before COVID, including the Bay Lights, where we saw a lot of art installations happening in cities that then created different types of creative commerce in the locales that they operated in. Up here we have an art car that was at the White House during the Science and Technology Art Fair at the White House. And we have From Bitcoin to Burning Man and Beyond, which was a book that was written by John Clippinger in 2015 that predicted a lot of what's going on with blockchain now and the decentralized systems.
I wrote a chapter in that book.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
I'm always finding new things out about you, Stan. It's ridiculous.
I worked on that with John.
Okay, and then we also have, Paul Romer, the Nobel Prize-winning economist, who finally made his way to Burning Man and finally mentioned in the New York Times that actually there was quite a lot of learnings there that were somehow not institutionalized learnings that could potentially change the way cities are. So these were some notable moments, and right before 2020, we kind of thought this new decade is going to be awesome. Look at all of these things that have happened. How can we bring some of that to Davos? We feel like the time is right to bring it to Davos. So Stan and I started thinking about a panel that we had here called, what was it called? Co-Creating the Future Society.
Co-Creating the Future Society. And I should add that Jen and I met here in Davos at the Hub back in like 2013, I think. And so we had always been in contact. And I had been like wanting to go to Burning Man. And so in 2014, Jen was like, you got to make it. And I was in Greece. And my friend Patrick Deegan, who also was involved with that book with John, called me and he's like, I have a ticket, but you have to leave tonight. So I got on a plane that night and I flew to Burning Man with 2 other people. And that was the beginning of what became a transformation station, which is Hub Culture's alter ego in Burning Man. Because we don't bring Hub to Burning Man, but we do build a transformation station, which is an amazing camp that we've built now over 7 years.
And actually, that's an interesting point because you're an exception, but a lot of people bring their real-world versions of who they are to Burning Man under a different identity and then incubate themselves in a different way that leads to more creative collaboration and creative commerce. And then they wonder to themselves, okay, how do I reflect this, more evolved version of my business initiative back into the real world? And that's a really interesting point that we're in now, but you had it the other way around. But I'd love to know from you, how have you brought some of the learnings from the Hub and from your non-Hub hub into?
Well, we brought so many learnings from Burning Man out, which I think a lot of people who've been to Burning Man have embedded into their communities. One of them, in 2020, we announced our principles here at Burning Man. And
you mean here at the Hub?
Sorry, here at the Hub, the Burning Man Davos Hub. But yeah, we actually sat and really thought about what were our principles, what were our version of the 10 principles for Hub Culture, and we wanted to share that with our community and especially with our team, with our staff. So last Davos in 2020, we announced our Hub Culture's 10 principles.
I love that.
But I love it because the 10 principles we always posted from Burning Man in the Hub in the years prior to that. And it was always kind of a fun reminder for us about how we wanted to be and bring burner culture out into the world. And that's sort of the conversation that Jen and I have been on.
Right. Okay. So we're going to move a little quickly here because I know there's running a little short of time. There's a lot of things to get through. But basically, at the same time, Klaus mentioned that for the beginning of 2020 at the WEF, he mentioned that we need to talk about how innovation, not just why. So I thought to myself, awesome. Okay, this is the right timing to do this. So we brought some people together and we talked about a bunch of different things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I was representing from the Burning Man mindset. Who else did we have with us, Stan? We had Bill.
We had Bill Ty, I think Brittany Kaiser, Lucian Tarnowski, a lot of people who intersect across both communities.
Right. Okay, so here, there we go. Here we are. And so this is what I sort of brought up, which is that the current cultural mindset is very much about learning and then making as a result of what you learn and then playing in your free time. Based on what we've seen from Burning Man, it's a lot more around playing and the human-led innovation that comes from that, making as a result of what you imagine, just like artists visually conceptualize their ideas, makers visually conceptualize their ideas, entrepreneurs visually conceptualize their ideas. And then having, knowledge derived from the collective prototyping altogether. So it's a different way of thinking about play and how it actually drives the creative commerce and potentials. This is a Venn diagram that we have that basically discusses how creating these zones for play, whether they're psychological or physical. Psychological is sort of, creating space for the unknown, walking home in a different way, doing things you don't normally do. Physical is like the Italian piazza, the third space, the, not the home, not the office, but places that are physically designed, usually by the collective, for the collective, that allow for people to, make decision-making based on following their freedoms and random collisions with each other. And when we do this, when we create permission psychologically or physically for play, and we do the prototyping that we just discussed, it creates new collaborative culture and creates new creative commerce. Then what happened? Then COVID happened.
So we had this amazing night here, which you just saw that photo of briefly. We all left Davos, and we know within a couple of weeks the world changed. And COVID-19 actually, in a weird way, caused the conversation to continue.
Right. It actually was a catalyst. And so we convened again online on Emerald City's podcast platform, which I'd encourage you guys all to go to. And we discussed again. And, Bill Ty was talking about, all the amazing ways that all of a sudden he felt that he could maybe create a DAO or bring people together to collaborate on the new form of kind of entrepreneurial mindset that was happening out of the lack of opportunities that COVID was creating. Brittany was talking about, what was she talking about?
And really it was Clubhouse.
Well, then we brought it to Clubhouse afterwards, and various people just kind of jumped in and was like, okay, let's all do this. At the same time, Burners Without Borders, which is Burning Man's humanitarian arm, created a response team, and a lot of these things that we'd seen mostly on Playa started to take shape in the real world as well. So as Sam mentioned, then we thought, okay, well, let's do From Dust. So why don't you give us a little plug?
Well, really From Dust was your idea, but this was a Clubhouse channel. It is a Clubhouse channel that started to convene the Burning Man community in the darkest days of the pandemic. Really, when everybody was on Clubhouse and Clubhouse was blowing up, From Dust became a place that everybody began to go, where the conversation really got deep, and people would spend hours talking about these concepts around the future society, and thousands of people participated in that.
Right, and we had some interesting outcomes.
There's Nicole, who's in the room.
There's Nicole. We had some interesting outcomes. We had a lot of money raised. We had also, how do I play video?
That's Root Hub.
This is Root Hub.
Who had a great time singing to the Clubhouse team with live performances during that period of time.
We'll figure that out in 1 second. But we also had a wiki that was created. Why don't you talk about this for a second?
Yeah, so this was something that Hub Culture was very involved with creating, because Jen said, hey, I want to start mapping the impact of the burn outside of the burn. But there's no resource, there's no shared or user-generated resource to do that. So we said, hey, we need to work on a wiki. So we started that thing in the desert.io as a place to start to really pull together everything that could be happening worldwide from everyone doing it worldwide. And this wiki really exploded over the course of the pandemic and became the go-to place to figure out how Burning Man culture is changing the rest of the culture.
Well, an interesting thing about this wiki also is that it's not a conventional wiki, obviously. Instead of it being absolute fact and absolute information, which most wikis are, we tried to encourage people to put placeholders in. So if something looked like something that they'd heard of before, we tried to encourage them to be like, hey, this sounds like something that I've heard of in, I don't know, Newfoundland, in somewhere else. And so really it was a vulnerable wiki about map making more so than fact that gave us the opportunity to then, really actually identify, get in touch with those people, and try and create a map of the landscape, which is still going on, so I encourage you guys to go there.
Yeah, and go and visit it and contribute to it. Anyone can contribute, and we're able to kind of build on it.
Are we able to play video? Okay.
Okay, that's Root Hub. He played his ukulele. I love Root Hub because the whole time this was happening, I was in Kauai, where we were starting to build the new Hub Culture Oasis, which is a project there, and he was next door in Maui. And so we'd be on these Clubhouse conversations, one island away from each other, but somehow really connected and close.
That's cute, Sam.
Yeah, it's funny.
Okay. So the UN announced that they are creating human-led innovation metrics for all of 2021, and they wanted to go through all of the SDGs and encourage people to submit proposals of what the human-led elements of each SDG might be. And I'm going, okay, this is starting to get more real. This is starting to get way more real. I mean, 10 years ago, we mapped the Burning Man impact metrics, and they were kind of looked a lot more like what they were looking at all of a sudden. So again, things are moving in the right direction. Then the Renegade burn happened, which was very interesting for me because it was an example of behavior change. It was an example of citizens going straight to the government and creating their own way of, I guess, quote unquote, lobbying to get what they want done. Burning Man has always been the middleman to create that opportunity for us, and in their absence, seeing the government honor the opportunity with individual groups and struggle, I'd say struggle in a kind way, but actually try and respond to all the various responds, which they obviously weren't able to do, but did try to was a really, really interesting thing for me. And I think something that Larry Harvey would have been very, very happy to see.
It was a really amazing time. I don't know if any of you went, but if you did, I'm sure you know. It was amazing to watch the evolution in real time of not just the Burning Man culture, but the burn itself. And so one of the interesting things is that the circle closed. Like many of you know, it's like a clock. It goes from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock. But in this instance, the circle closed, and you had a few rebels who were like, I'm going to park in the middle of that circle. But for me, the most interesting thing, and Jen and I talked about this, was what I call the suburbs. Because suddenly, Robot Heart invented their own city. Spankies invented their own city. And so the playa became suddenly like not just about the burn and this like prescribed container that has kind of held it for so long, but it became actually a new organic place. And it was amazing like watching an organism and to see how it evolved over the course of the week. It was very cool.
Was also a little bit like London. And the reason it was like London is because London has gone through many changes, and it's grown in this borough way. You say suburb, I say borough.
Borough is a good word.
Right. So I like how the fact that in London, it's definitely not New York. It's not a grid. You know what I mean? But things evolved and grew and evolved and grew and evolved and grew. I don't know if any of you guys remember trying to navigate London before the internet, but we used to have a book called A to Z, and you had to like literally flip through it to figure out how to get places because it was so confusing. The Renegade Burn was a little bit like that. It was like a blueprint of one city that was sort of washed away and a remembrance of it, and then the creation of another, and it had a lot of borough mentality going on.
Yeah, the great COVID fire of 2020 versus the great London fire of 1666.
Oh my God, Stan, is this going to be a chapter in our future book? I don't know. Anyways, so that was great. And so after that, Stan and I met in New York, and we thought, let's go on the Great Unknown Trip. So the Great Unknown Trip was basically us traveling to a few different places that we had to go to, and looking at examples of burner mindset applied to conventional challenges and spaces created for the unknown. We were looking for these permission zones, these psychological and physical permission zones for play. And so we embarked on a little bit of an adventure. And this is a little flyer that Stan made.
And one of the things about this adventure was it was purposely designed without structure.
Right.
It was like, hey, this is these dates. Meet me there if you're going to be there, or I'll meet you there if you're going to be there. And we're going to just leave the agenda completely open. Now, I had work things, she had work things, but in the context of all this, we just put together this like Great Unknown Trip. And I'm happy to say that the Great Unknown Trip is still continuing because this is the latest leg of the Great Unknown Trip, and you guys are now part of it.
You guys are now a part of the Great Unknown Trip. Okay. Oops. We can't play video, but that's me and Stan trying to share what was going on in Vancouver, summarizing part of the Great Unknown Trip.
Yeah. So this was
we'll save that for next
7.
time.
It's terrible fun. I can't believe you put that up. But this is me and Jen out in the woods outside of Whistler, where we were kind of filming social media. And then I always send it to Jen, and then 3 months later, she's like, can you please send me that video again? Because she doesn't have it. Okay,
so we went to COP26, and we shared some of our findings there. But where else did we go on the Great Unknown Trip?
See, you can't take a bad photo, and I can't take a good one.
Okay. All right. Where else did we go on the trip, Stan?
So we started in this idea in New York. Then London happened. Berlin didn't quite happen. Then we met up at Expo Dubai, and that was a really key moment to meet with the leadership from Expo Dubai. Then we went to Damanhur.
Wait. Let's talk about Dubai for a second.
Okay.
What did you feel was interesting about Expo?
Well, in the context of this idea, I think the conclusion that we had from Dubai was that this World Expo provided space for creation that hasn't been seen for a long time at World Expo. World Expo has been very formulaic and very sponsored and very brand corporate, and this had a different kind of energy to it. The other thing was that meeting with the leadership from Expo Dubai, that there's a whole plan around building a city off of the Dubai experience. And so there's going to be a really interesting imprint from Expo 2020.
Okay, I want to say that Dubai is interesting. You know, obviously in the 60s, there was a lot of money and top-down development that happened there, and a lot of it didn't fit. But the interesting thing is that message that this is an undefined land still brought private sectors there. And those people created new versions of what they were shaping Dubai to be. So there's this kind of like underbedded message in Dubai of we are co-creating our future. And it's interesting because some of these giant, massive skyscrapers and stuff like that were built with, by oil tycoons in the 60s or whatever, they have, spaces in between them, and there's new life emerging in the sort of parking lots in between and things like that. It's quite interesting to see how exciting it is for the people who live there and are embracing the message that they live in a place that they are co-creating together. And then I'll also just comment on Expo, is that Expo used to be a festival of innovation that started in France, and then later on, in the Cold War in particular, started becoming a little bit more about propaganda, and different nations getting their propaganda in other places. And unfortunately, it started to get overly defined. So it'd be like, we're going to solve this, or we're going to talk about this, which would be great because the country that won the bid would know about that thing. But then the other countries would have no idea what they're talking about, so they'd be making up kind of bullshit. So the looser the topic, the more allowance for true innovation. The tighter the topic, the less allowance for the other nations to really innovate. And this was interesting because they chose to make a theme that was about many different things, and they changed it every 3 weeks. So I was really interested to see how different nations would be able to actually translate and bring the innovation potential of their nation back into the Expo mindset, which is also a lot like Burning Man, by the way, with the pavilions and such. Okay, this is a picture from Nicole that we got this year. So now we look at 2022. Not a great picture that I got off WhatsApp, but you can see that Polka Dot funded a message that says, "This playful pattern is bringing serious change." And I was just happy to see that. So it's just a little bit more of our mentality coming into the landscape. And so I'd love to chat with you guys do a little forecast about what else you see that's been going on since 2020 or now as it relates to this kind of like permission for play and innovation and sort of Burning Man application to conventional challenges. I have one speaker lined up for you guys to share his experience that I think is particularly relevant, but if there's anyone else who'd like to chime in before we do that.
And just to cap that to the moment,
yeah,
we've been thinking a lot about the gap in leadership. The gap being the period of time that's just happened, and leadership being where things are going to go forward. And so I think I really feel that the last 2 years have been really transformative in a way that we don't yet fully appreciate or understand. And the new leadership that's coming out of that time is going to do things in a different way, in a way that feels different, in a way that actually is different. And so this is a really exciting moment for us because we've kind of been waiting to have this conversation for 2.5 years, because in 2020, the future society was a future idea, but in 2022, the future society, the seeds are there, it's actually real.
Okay, and I'm just going to flip through these really quickly and add here that today, for 2022, Klaus's statement has been about, guess what? Collaborative thinking. So you know a little bit about that too, don't you?
I think that's what we're built on.
Oh,
Let's open it up to you guys.
Let's open it up. Should we open up with you guys, and then we'll pass it over to Zach? Okay, yeah. Hi.
Mike?
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Ford. I run an organization called the Ocean Plastic Leadership Network, and we took 165 leaders into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean a few years ago. I actually am a burner as well. I had dinner with Larry like a year before he died. I will never forget that for the rest of my life. I don't know if you know Kate Raudenbush, but she's a friend as well.
Yeah, he was like one of my homies. He used to make fun of me a lot for hanging out with mostly older men. Anyways, go on.
So we actually use this analogy, the Burning Man on the beach analogy, for some stuff we're working on. And I had this huge vision that we're in the process of executing on in Greenland, where we found a site at the base of the ice sheet, and we're really working to take financial leaders, and it's becoming even more like crypto leaders, specifically, like how blockchain can change the world. So we'd love to riff with you guys about that.
Oh, cool.
Cool. And why don't we pass to Jay here? Yeah. Oh, there's some.
We should riff about it, but you should also add it to the wiki.
So Jay is one of our partners here at the Ice House.
Hey everyone.
With Belong.net, and he's a burner.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you guys for such a wonderful intro. Being a burner myself and experiencing the crypto industry myself, I can see how two have merged over the past years. especially when it comes to self-governance and the interaction of people in the free form. You know, you were discussing the structure of the arranged playa as a grid or city structured, but there is some beauty also to chaos, and sometimes things are born out of chaos that will shape how structure is defined down the line.
Totally.
You know, and with the lockdown itself as well, we saw how people organized in new, meaningful ways, you know, whether being restricted by the lockdowns or by people they care and love about being far away. They came up with new and better ways to interact and group. And we see that in the crypto industry as well with NFTs. You know, to some, those are just JPEGs. To others, those are kind of the definition of how communal participation works and how we take stake in something we believe in. And that's kind of how we and why we started Belong. We fundamentally believe in the fact that, you know, anyone can group, and they need the tools to do that efficiently. They need to have a voice that can be heard. They need to have the structure to support the organization, to formulate new and evolving leadership positions, new structures, new fundamental goals and ideas that will shape the further definition of those societies. And Playa has taught us a lot of lessons about how self-governance and then communal participation can actually shape public policy. And NFTs are also an evolution of that, where you are the voice, and with your voice, you're not only supporting an organization financially as a contribution, right, but you're also a part of the participant.
And I think we're seeing that right now with Ukraine, and the Ukraine NFTs are like the best example of the potential of that.
Well, also, I just think that there's a sense of vulnerability that happened because nobody, no matter what their prediction was for the new decade, was really able to launch with their theory when COVID hit, and it created probably one of the most rich periods for collaboration of our time, where people usually wanted to do their TED Talk on their own, were all of a sudden creating space to discuss theory with others. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest silver linings that we've had that we need to kind of double click on and keep going as well. Is there anyone else who'd like to contribute? Yeah.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Liana Galuli. I work with an organization that was started the same year as Burning Man, which is a nonprofit called MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. And we're going through a lot of the same kind of growing pains and changes that Burning Man is going through right now. We've been kind of sharing notes, so to speak. But one thing I want to share is that there's this idea about decentralized healing that I think is really important. MAPS is best known for our medical research. We're in phase 3 trials with MDMA therapy to treat PTSD. But what I'm really excited about is this concept that a well-informed or a person who is trained in the art of peer support is probably going to be the most common way that people explore psychedelics for the first time moving forward. And so decentralized healing centers that are culturally competent and oriented towards the communities that they serve is like a whole fascinating arena that's opening up around this and is tied in with drug policy reform initiatives that are happening all over the world.
It's so amazing because 2 points on that. One, the hub culture oasis in Kauai that we spent the pandemic developing is exactly that.
Yeah.
It's exactly designed around building a space for that kind of healing and transformation. And to that end, 9:30 on Monday morning, so tomorrow morning, we're doing a live stream from the oasis in Kauai with a healer who's going to lead us on a collective healing journey from COVID. So it's like an hour-long therapy session in a way to go through a 4-step process to process COVID. So I'd really invite you guys to all come and be part of that. It's very much linked in, not necessarily with the psychedelic exactly, but certainly,
psychedelics are not the point. The healing's the point.
Exactly.
Of this whole
And this
thing,
idea of decentralized collective healing, that's actually, for me, one of my signature moments that I wanted to have. Because I was thinking about how are we going to talk about COVID in the context of being back. And that's the way that we're going to do it. So I'd love you guys to come, especially you, to experience that. It's an amazing healer who's going to be leading that journey.
Great. Can I just add one more quick point?
Yeah, please do.
It's not related to this, so if you want to answer.
Yeah.
Please.
So I also think that something that you said that is interesting is I think that we can kind of see now that the opposite of depression is actually play. And so if we're dividing things into subsets of how we can create human-led potential and fostering care for each other and trying to avoid some of these mass psychological disorders or ailments, psychedelics, and just the theory around how we bring people together collectively to step into a space of the unknown, either at Burning Man or applying this mindset to safe spaces such as what you've described, where we do things outside of our normal to then recalibrate and then come back, is all a part of the same Venn diagram that we are exploring right now, which is super exciting as well.
Gabor Mate shared that the opposite of addiction is connection, and it's a similar thing
Right.
to that you
There you go.
shared. Yeah. I'll skip my second thing. It was on like what I saw with funerals. I'm trained as a death doula and care a lot about that space. And
Right.
just over the pandemic, just seeing the way that people were able to facilitate online funerals was like super interesting. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's a lot there, but I'll
Right.
pass it on.
So, okay, on that for 1 second though, it's redefining our ritual, right? So when we experiment and allow ourselves to imagine new things, like we might not have experimented on a funeral before. We would do the ritual that we knew, but because we went through a compression or a constraint moment, we had to, like Burning Man is a constraint moment going into the blank canvas, we have to reimagine things in different ways. And when we do that, we find new ways for new rituals. I heard somebody say that they had a funeral with like 300 people on Zoom when they were expecting to have like 20 in person, and it was, not as good in some ways, but way more interesting and illuminating in others. And so this is just a great example of how we can redefine our ritual when we experiment together. Okay, are we gonna hand over to Zuck now, I think? Oh, we got one more? No. All right.
Yeah, so I was just going to show this first image.
You don't wanna come up?
You want to come up?
Come on up.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Girl,
You have the clicker? So yeah, this is, so I'm Mike Zuckerman. I work with displaced communities all over the world. I've been to about 100 refugee camps, and this is the largest one in the world. This is Kutupalong in Bangladesh. It's 1.2 million. And these are the cities of the future in my mind. There's currently, 3 months ago, there were 84 million displaced people in the world, and now there's 95 million people displaced because of the Ukraine conflict. So we're coming up on 100 million. Some of the predictions say we're going to hit 300 million by the end of this decade. And there's some other, it's very hard to predict things, but even potentially, I've heard estimates as high as 1.2 billion people by 2050. So the current method of doing this is really not sufficient. It creates dependency, and that's why self-organization and creating spaces where people can come together is really kind of the only thing I believe in letting people figure this out themselves. And so instead of the concept of like building capacity, I think the term I really have been enjoying recently is capacity recognition, that people really can figure things out on their own if they have resources and they're not blocked by agency and rules and such. So yeah, I was just showing a comparison. This is Midburn. It's a much better layout, and much like Paul Romer, who you alluded to before, the Nobel Prize economist who went to Burning Man, this is kind of part of his vision of cities of the future as well, is lay out a grid and then let people populate it because they know what they need. And this is not just relevant for refugees, this is also extremely relevant for urban economic displacement, which winds up showing up in the form of slums, which is even more than the number of refugees. And I just spent the last couple of months on the Poland-Ukraine border, and that was another kind of self-organized response because the UN agencies were not there. Literally, it took them, IOM, the International Organization for Migration, it took them over 5 weeks just to show up and build a tent. And in that time, we had already passed like 700,000 through this one single border crossing called Medica. And so this was just this citizen-led response that was very much like a festival. And essentially, one of the departments of Burning Man is called Gate, Perimeter, and Exodus. That's essentially what we were running. It was exodus out of Ukraine into Poland, and there's all of these logistics that they've done this so many times, and they've learned over the years how to let people in with walkie-talkies and pulses.
And lots of volunteers.
Lots of volunteers.
High-level
and
volunteers.
So are you saying that the Burning Man exit crew was handling the border?
They weren't there, but we really could have used them because we just had to figure it out on our own. But I've been talking,
You took those principles.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I was just at Fly Ranch last weekend, which is a Burning Man property, and I was telling them, hey, we really could have used you. and there just wasn't necessarily that communication set up. And because this keeps happening time and time again, that we're like, oh, next time we'll be prepared. And that's, I mean, just like this beautiful structure we're in right here, designed by William McDonough, this is a pop-up space. It's beautiful. You know, we didn't have any infrastructure, and it was so cold, and we were just going through like 30,000 blankets, and you know, like putting up tents and you know, space heaters and trying to heat the air. So there is a huge need for preparing for a first response. So that first couple of weeks, when it takes the formal organizations all of that time to go through the paperwork, that's when local citizens just show up. And so being able to equip them with some of, like, it's chaos, but being able to equip them with certain things like ID badge printers and, you know, some infrastructure and a little like field office and some shelter is really going to be crucial to provide life-saving support. So there's a lot of overlap.
You've been doing this for a while, though, and I think that we've seen that art and spaces for gathering, as you mentioned, and bringing a little bit of, you know, joy and creativity into these spaces goes a very, very, very long way as well. And as we were riffing earlier, you know, Burning Man was an organic movement. It wasn't intentional. And so it really does come back to this mindset where if you allow yourself to prototype things you imagine, they might then lead to being applicable to really serious things like this, you know? So it's just all a matter of creating space for that which we don't know.
This is also turning into like a schedule announcement for the week here. Tuesday at 12:30, I'm hosting a lunch with Brittany Kaiser. It's called Exiting Displacement, and it's on exactly the topic you're talking about. I'm really disappointed to hear that the numbers we've been throwing around were 68 million to 72 million with Ukraine. We knew that number was going up, and 200 million by the end of the decade. And so the idea of exiting displacement is to bring people together for a group conversation right here to talk about the frameworks that are needed to be able to process what's coming. So I'd love you to come, and anybody else who wants to be at that event on Tuesday at 12:30, we can go deep on this.
Yeah, it's hard to predict. I mean, they say 2/3 will be due to climate change.
Yeah.
But the numbers were, a lot of that's internally displaced. But I believe the number was 82 prior to Ukraine.
Yeah, no, I believe you 100%, because even while we were building the invite, the numbers kept changing, like crazy changing. And, you know, with climate, we're really focused on sustainability here with Bill and the work that we're doing. But this, to me, is the big looming issue, because living in Europe, when you had Syria and what happened in 2014, 2015, 2016, that was only 200,000 migrants from some of these places, and it changed countries. It resulted in Brexit. So we're all seeing the impact of the first drop of that wave that's coming. And so I think this is honestly the most important topic at Davos. To be really clear with you, I think this is the most important topic that we have to be working on fixing. So thank you for doing that.
I just want to drop one concept that's related to kind of a solution to this, possibly, is taking one of the Burning Man principles of leave no trace, but switching it to leave a trace. And this is one of the ideas on how to deal with this, you know, hundreds of millions of displaced people, is to throw a festival and to do a gathering that gets people together and build infrastructure and then leave it there. Because, again, we're not just going to need like one or two of these things. We're going to need like 6,000 of these new developments. And so I think places like Dubai that have financial capital to prototype this, it's really, we need to try a lot of them. And hopefully this decade, so that as more and more people get displaced, we're like, hey, this actually worked for these, or maybe you build a makerspace in the middle and see what happens. Maybe you just start with a circle. But so, yeah, I just wanted to throw out the leave a trace concept.
That's also actually what the Mayans used to do. They were surveyors and makers and builders, but they used to throw festivals before they build their cities. Yeah.
I know that. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, hand me that clicker.
Let's keep the conversation going. Beverly.
You. And I wanted to play this goodbye video.
Wait, I don't want him to.
Oh, no, we have one more. Please, go ahead. Yes, yes, yes.
I just want to, I love everything you talked about. We're faced, besides the displaced horror, we have a displaced population in America, in our cities. New York, where I live, Los Angeles, of the homeless. And everything you're talking about, I think if we really get together with these ideas, it's one solution for the homeless, which nobody is really addressing.
Very, very good point. Like snaps.
I mean, is that valid, do you think?
Displacement in America also from wildfires and hurricanes. Yeah, it's not only elsewhere the problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much, and we hope to see more of you as the week goes on.
Yep. Just a final word from here with Hub Culture. This place is created for the 5th time now, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, didn't obviously happen, 22. So it's the 6th edition of the Ice House. It's the very first moment, so thank you guys for getting off the street and into a room when you have a whole week of things to do. Check hubculture.com for schedules and events, and we're working with belong.net, which you'll be able to download very soon to see interactive ways to engage with the community out of both Hub Culture and what they built on their technology side. And then I mentioned exiting displacement, 12:30 on Tuesday, collective healing from COVID, 9:30 a.m. on Monday. And tonight at 5:30, we have our kickoff party with We Are All Human and Unity with DJ Kidnap. He's coming in from London. He's an amazing DJ. And so invite you guys. You can kind of stick around and have a glass of wine now, and we're going to start working on the room, and then that's going to kick off at 5:30. So thanks for coming. Please Instagram, hashtag the Future Society, the Great Unknown, Hub Culture. Thanks for coming. See you on the playa.
See you on the playa.
Okay. For those of you on the live stream, we'll be back soon with more content from Hub Culture in Davos. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at 5:30 for the kickoff party.
It's water off the empty places. Full right in the lavender night. Somebody make up my mind. Into pieces, I'm so alive. Father Ocean, hear my song. You're the wave I was made from. Take me back to where we once began. Ocean Father, I was wrong. Years I followed just the sun. Now I see your darkness holds the key. I close my eyes and I begin to see. When we're alone, let the feelings take control. 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 Mama told me to be loved. the feelings take control. Let 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 the
try deep inside to find you, breathing for the life I once tried to find, 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 once tried to find. Breathing underwater isn't hard. I try deep inside to find you, breathing for the life I once tried to find, 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 once tried to find.
If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours. If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours. If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours. If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours. If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours. If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours. always starting the fights, endless days, endless nights. Girl, you've come full circle. You've come full circle. I'm always locked up in here, making up for lost years. No, I've come full circle. I've come full circle.
Those golden eyes and pretty smiles, I needed you to follow. I needed you to follow me. I'm in repair and I can't sleep at night. I needed you to follow me. I needed you to follow me.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Our friends from GLAD are here. Our friends from the Hispanic delegation are here. Everybody come on in here. We're going to move around this way a little bit. Good evening. I can't hear you. Good evening. Welcome to the 6th edition of the Ice House in Davos, part of the Hub Culture Davos Summer Campus. The first time we've ever had a green Davos. They talk about green Davos, and we finally have green Davos. So take a minute and look outside those beautiful windows and see the nature that is really the driving force of this mountain town. You know, back in the olden days, Davos was a place where people would come to recover because it had a climate that was very unique. And before there was a cure for tuberculosis, this is where people came from cities all across Europe to try to recover. And I feel like as we come out of what I call the Great Gap, this last 2.5 years since we were last in this building, I feel like we've come here to recover emotionally, socially, from the last 2 years. So I'm really so pleased to welcome you to the kickoff event for the World Economic Forum 2022 Hub Culture Davos Summer Campus with all of our amazing partners that you can see here. Without these guys, this wouldn't be here. So thank you guys, and we're all here, right? And we have so much to be grateful for. We have a great, amazing set of activities coming up tonight and throughout the rest of the week. But right now I want to hand the mic to my wonderful friend, Claudia Romo Edelman. Claudia and I have been friends for many years, and she's the reason Hub first came to Davos, because we used to work together when I was at Time Warner, and she was at the Forum. And my first day leaving Time Warner to start Hub Culture, she said, you know, you should just come to Davos. And I did. And look at what happened. And then years later, the Ice House came, and I said, Claudia, we were seated next to each other accidentally at this dinner, and we were talking, and we figured out after a little while that we had known each other in this other life. We had lost track of each other in this gap of 10 years, and then we reconnected. And from that dinner, which was Shamina's Tomorrow's Leaders Tonight, so many things came. And so I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about the incredible, amazing work you guys are doing in the nonprofit world, and we'll then continue.
Thank you so much. I do want to start by saying, great on Stan. Can we give it a great round of applause for Stan for hosting us tonight and having this beautiful, beautiful venue year after year. So hard to put it on, and you're here. I think that I have a slide or something. There you go. So this is our kickoff reception. We've been doing at the World Economic Forum. The World Human Foundation has been trying to go to places where decision makers are, so that we can kick off get a kickoff reception, so that we can get all the champions that are making a difference together. One, to celebrate the progress that we're making, because we are making progress, and it is great to celebrate. We're not a destination, but if we don't celebrate the progress we're making, we're not really acknowledging how much we're hardworking and getting to destination. So one is to celebrate the progress that we're making as humanity, and the number two is to make sure that we connect those champions that are making a difference, so that we can go through the week or through the couple of days knowing that when you see each other, you're like, yeah, I'm part of this group of Avengers, of champions that are committed to making a difference and committing to actually unify and join forces. This year, actually, this is my 25th Davos, believe it or not, and it is the first time I see this green, so it's awesome. But I think that overall, I just had another. Sorry about that. No, I think that overall, the one thing that I'm focusing right now is on understanding that the world is browner, more feminine, and with a bigger heart than ever before. And that we need those voices, those players, in the place where decisions are made. And so I'm really proud to bring a delegation of Hispanic leaders to the World Economic Forum, so that we can open the door for each other, so that we can share the access code and actually bring that voice to places like the World Economic Forum. For all of you to know, the Latino community in America is literally the driving force of the country. 62 million people, 19% of the population, 12% of the GDP. So it doesn't matter whether you're a company or you're a politician, you really need Latinos to buy, sell, or win any election. And the beauty of it is that you're going to meet the 6 leaders that we're bringing together as a Hispanic Star delegation, and all the other Latinos that we brought to you today, so that, one, you welcome them, so that you meet the future leaders of America, and so that we together can really make Davos a more diverse and inclusive place. Yes. So having said that, I would like to welcome all the Latino leaders to raise your hand just very quickly. Latino leaders coming with a Hispanic Star delegation and not recognize these guys. These guys represent millions of Latinos in the country that are educating our workforce. So look at them, raise your hand again. So if you see them, please introduce yourself to them, open the doors, make sure that you invite them to the parties that you have, because for many of them, this is the first Davos that we are. The last thing I want to say is that it is really great to be back. I think that for all of us, personally, professionally, COVID was really, really hard. In my case, I lost even my mother after 169 days of COVID. For people like Sid, as well, your father. So it's really great to feel that we're resilient enough to have managed to conquer one of the pandemics under the leadership of people like my former boss, Dr. David Navarro. Thank you so much for everything you have done and guiding us here. And that we will not stop until the job is done. So welcome everybody to this kickoff event. Welcome, thank you, Stan, and welcome everybody to this annual meeting. Thank you.
So the other thing that Claudia does, we do together, and I'm so proud to be here in the Ice House, where our podcast was born 6 years ago, and it's actually all thanks or the fault of Stan, because he introduced me to Claudia and said, well, you should interview her first. And then afterwards he said, no, you guys should do a podcast together about the global goals. And so that's what happened. We launched it 5 years ago, and it has been one of my favorite, if not my very favorite thing that I do. And I really do love doing it with Claudia because she's an amazing partner. But the stories we tell are all about the Sustainable Development Goals. And they really are the closest thing that we have as a consensus on what we need to do to make the world a better place. We wanted to tell that story, wanted to tell the story of the people and the organizations like Foresti, like David Nabarro's, who are absolutely doing that and working to make that happen, explaining how the goals interrelate with each other, telling the stories of the people behind them, and explaining why educating women makes war less likely, makes hunger less likely, why reducing hunger increases growth, why having facts about COVID mean that you educate people, you can reduce fear, and you can increase trust. And all of those things have been so important, and they've been so important to me over the last few years. So this is what we've done. We have grown incredibly. We've partnered with incredible people. We've been very, very lucky and blessed to be partnered with MasterCard. We've done some great work with David Nabarro over COVID, really showing the work that he was doing with health workers all over the world. I'm very, very proud of those stories in particular. And we have partnered. We've partnered with UNICEF Innovation, with the World Food Program, with the UN Foundation, with the UN itself, Malaria No More, Women Deliver, so many more as well. And I've been very excited that we've featured so many women leaders. And I'm excited to see the Hispanic women leaders here tonight. And I hope that we can also be featuring you guys as well. Right? This is what we're hoping to do for the rest of 2022. There's a lot of important topics that we really want to cover, including migration, including things to do with health. Technology is really the underpinning of everything. And in order to do that, we are very much, well, that's how well we're doing in terms of social media. But we're very much hoping to grow. And so we are looking for partners. We're looking for financial partners. We're looking for partners to help introduce us to people. We would like to expand what we do beyond just our podcast. We'd like to do a newsletter. We want to continue to do video, which Stan has often allowed us to do. We also do pop up in places like this. We go to Cannes. We were at the COP climate summits as well. And so all I can say is that if it mattered 5 years ago, it matters even more right now. And we have lost so much ground in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And all of us here in this room really know that. Poverty, hunger, dislocation, carbon emissions are on the rise. So getting back to our plan for a better world is the path. We don't have a plan because, as many people have said, we don't have a plan B because we don't have a planet B. And those words are as true as they were even 5 years ago. So our job at Global Goals Cast is to really shine a light on those champions, bringing a journalistic look to how we can make that path to a better world. So please do join us. Tell your friends about us. Come and support us and help us. And with that, I am very delighted to introduce to you Tim Gray, who's been our partner for tonight. He is the founder of Unity, and I'm so excited to have you as our new friend here at Hub Culture as well.
Thank you, Edie. Thank you, Edie. We are very proud to be here tonight to sponsor and host this wonderful event tonight. We stand behind everything that you guys do. It's super, super important. I'm just really pleased that you're all here. In case, just so you know what we do, we make the first wireless headphone that can stream high-resolution audio wirelessly. So it's also a platform. But there's a dinner tonight if you want to know more about it. And there can be demos throughout the day. But with that being said, not a very good public speaker, so I'd like to introduce Kidnap. He's an internationally renowned DJ that is one of my personal favorites and a good friend. So I hope you guys all enjoy. Thank you so much.
crowded so and the jungle falls. There's no space between us and the summer breeze, waiting for the hurricanes in the New York streets. We are the ones who wait oh still at the very end. I'm the crowded soul. Traffic jam in me. The sun under my feet. I'm full of you. You make me cry out. Your gravity will space me out.
Tell you that I lost control. And tell you that I'll find another way. This can't be the price you pay. Tell you that I wanna stay. Sweetheart, I'm honest, you're open, I hold the sun, new eyes, I need it. I roll down emotions and reach out in waterfalls, I'm easy to come undone. of the hand that you never see. You wanna dance, you don't know how to get it on the floor, man. Don't hold back for anyone. Close your eyes, just follow the inner light. You count on me. You count on me. I can fly, I can breathe, learn to sing like the rain.